My phone buzzed during my morning coffee break. Unknown number. I didn't even hesitate, just swiped it away. As a cybersecurity analyst, I've seen every scam imaginable. Unknown numbers? They're almost always trouble. Then, a text popped up. Danny, it's urgent. I need to tell you something important before it's too late. Please call me back. This is a new number. Mom. I actually scoffed out loud and hit block contact. Classic scam. They use a familiar name, create a false sense of urgency, and pretend to be family. These scammers are getting slicker, but I wasn't falling for it. My mom has had the same number for 15 years. Why would it suddenly change? Plus, I just talked to her 3 weeks ago. Okay, talked is a strong word. It was more like I answered her call while rushing between meetings, mumbled that I was busy, and promised to call her back on the weekend. A promise I, of course, forgot to keep. But that was just how things were lately. Ever since I moved to San Francisco for this job 2 years ago, our calls got shorter, less frequent. I'm 28, climbing the corporate ladder, trying to build a life. I figured Mom understood. At least, I hoped she did. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. A different, unknown number. Danny, please don't ignore this. I really need to talk to you. It's about your father, and about me. I don't have much time. My finger hovered over the block button, the mention of my dad. That gave me a split-second pause. He died when I was 16, a sudden heart attack. After that, it was just me and Mom. But no, this is exactly how these cons work. They scrape your social media, find those personal details, and use them to make their lies more convincing. I literally wrote a paper on this exact type of social engineering last year. Block, delete, move on. I dove back into my work, reviewing security protocols for a new client. My phone buzzed twice more that afternoon. Different numbers each time, same message from my supposed mom, insisting she needed to reach me urgently. Wow, they're getting persistent, I muttered to myself, blocking each number as it came in. I even went as far as filing a report with the FTC. Someone was clearly running a targeted campaign against me, and I was not going to be a victim. That evening, my phone rang again. This time, it was her actual number, the one I had saved in my contacts. I was right in the middle of a crucial presentation rehearsal, so I let it go to voicemail. A moment later, the notification came through. Hi, honey, it's Mom. I've been trying to reach you all day. My phone broke, and I've been borrowing phones from people at the hospital. I really need to talk to you. It's important. Please call me back as soon as you get this. Hospital? My stomach did a little flip, but my rational brain immediately took over. It was probably just a routine checkup. Mom was always at the doctor for something minor. She was a bit of a hypochondriac, if I'm being honest. She once called me in a full-blown panic about a suspicious mole that turned out to be a freckle she'd had her whole life. So, I just texted back, busy day, everything okay. Call you this weekend. She didn't respond. That should have been my first real clue that something was wrong. But I was too busy, too wrapped up in my own world to see it. The next morning, I woke up to 6 missed calls from unknown numbers. That wasn't too unusual. I get a lot of spam. But then I saw one from my Aunt Carol. I hadn't spoken to Aunt Carol in probably 5 years. We weren't close. She lived back in my hometown of Millbrook, about an hour from where Mom lived in Portland. My stomach did a little flip. This was getting weird. As I started my walk to work, I tried calling my mom's actual number, the one I had saved. It went straight to a cold, robotic voice. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Okay, so her phone really was broken. That explained the calls from unknown numbers. A little thread of guilt started to wind its way through my chest. Those texts from yesterday. What if they really had been from Mom? No. I shook my head, trying to clear it. I'd heard her voice on the voicemail. That was definitely her. And she'd said she was borrowing phones. So those texts. I pulled up my blocked messages folder and found them. My screen lit up with the words I'd dismissed so easily. Danny, it's urgent. I need to tell you something important before it's too late. And another one. I really need to talk to you. It's about your father and about me. I don't have much time. Reading them now, without my scam detector glasses on, the tone felt completely different. It wasn't just dramatic. It was scared. My mom sounded scared. My palms started to sweat. My heart began to pound against my ribs. I immediately called Aunt Carol back. "Danny, finally!" Her voice crackled through the phone, sharp with panic. "Where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all morning." "My phone's been acting up," I said, my own voice shaky. "What's wrong? Is it Mom?" There was a pause, a silence that stretched on for what felt like a century. Then, her words hit me like a physical blow. "Danny, your mother's in the hospital. She's been here since yesterday morning. She collapsed at work and, Danny, it's her heart. It's serious." The sidewalk seemed to tilt and sway beneath my feet. The sounds of the city morning rush faded into a dull roar. "What? No, she didn't tell me. She just said, she's been trying to call you." Aunt Carol's voice rose, laced with a mix of fear and frustration. "She said you weren't answering." I thought. My voice cracked. The terrible realization dawned on me. I thought the messages were scams. They were coming from unknown numbers, and I blocked them. The silence on the other end was deafening, heavier than any words could have been. When she finally spoke, her voice was a quiet, devastating question. "You blocked your mother when she was trying to tell you she was dying?" I didn't know. I couldn't even finish the sentence. I wasn't walking anymore. I was running, sprinting back toward my apartment, fumbling for my keys, my mind a chaotic whirlwind of panic and regret. "Which hospital? I'm coming right now." "Portland General, ICU." "But Danny!" Her voice broke, and the raw emotion in it gutted me. "You need to hurry." The drive from my city to Portland is supposed to take 8 hours. I made it in 6.5. I broke every speed limit, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were stark white. The entire time, my mind was a torture chamber, replaying those messages, the ones I'd so confidently dismissed and blocked. "I don't have much time." She knew. She had known something was terribly wrong, and in her most desperate moments, she had tried to reach me, her only son, and I had blocked her. I had literally, actively blocked my own mother when she needed me the most. The weight of that action pressed down on me, suffocating me with guilt. I just kept driving faster, praying I wasn't already too late. The ICU was on the 4th floor. I burst through the doors at 11 p.m., my heart hammering against my ribs, a wild, terrified look in my eyes. The nurse at the station must have seen it all before. She took one look at me, and her face softened with sympathy. "Daniel Reeves, your mother's in room 4047. Your aunt is with her." I didn't even thank her. I just ran. Down the sterile, echoing hall, my footsteps the only sound besides the frantic beat of my own pulse. Room 4047. My hand trembled as I pushed open the door, and there she was. Mom. She looked so small, so impossibly small in that massive hospital bed. She'd always been petite, barely 5'2", but now she seemed to have shrunk, swallowed whole by the stark white sheets, and the forest of beeping, whirring machines that surrounded her. Tubes snaked from her arms. A heart monitor beeped out a steady, unnerving rhythm. Her face was pale, her lips tinged with a frightening shade of blue. Aunt Carol sat in a chair beside the bed, holding Mom's hand. She looked up as I stumbled in, her expression a confusing, painful mix of relief and pure anger. "She's sleeping," Carol whispered, her voice tight. "The doctors have her sedated. They did emergency surgery this morning to repair a valve. There were complications." My legs felt like jelly. I forced myself to move closer to the bed. "Is she going to... will she..." I couldn't finish the sentence. The words were caught in my throat, choking me. "They don't know yet," she said, her voice flat. "The next 24 hours are critical." Carol stood up, grabbing her purse, her movement stiff. "I need to get back to my hotel. I've been here all day. You sit with her." She started for the door, then stopped and turned back. Her eyes, so much like my mother's, were hard as stone. She knew something was wrong for weeks, Danny. She was having chest pains, shortness of breath. But she didn't want to worry you, because you're always so busy. She waited until she literally collapsed on her kitchen floor before she let a neighbor call 911. Guilt, sharp and cold, crashed over me like an icy wave. I didn't know, I started, my voice a pathetic croak. No, you didn't, she cut me off, her words like slaps. Because you never asked. When's the last time you had a real conversation with her, Danny? Not just a quick, how are you? Before you rushed off the phone. When's the last time you actually visited? I had no answer. I couldn't even remember. The silence stretched, filled only by the beeping of the machines, each one an accusation. Carol left without another word, the click of the door sealing me in this room of regret. I was alone with my mother and the symphony of machines that were keeping her alive. I shakily pulled the chair closer, right up to the edge of the bed, and took her hand. It was cold. So cold. I wrapped both of my hands around it, desperately trying to pour some of my own warmth into her. Mom, I whispered, the sound raw and broken. I'm here. I'm here now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She didn't respond. Of course she didn't. She just kept breathing, that slow, shallow, machine-assisted breath. With my free hand, I pulled out my phone. My fingers fumbled as I navigated to my blocked contacts list. Her new number. I unblocked it. The messages flooded in. 7 of them. A timeline of her terror, a testament to my neglect. I read them one by one, and with each word, the knife of regret twisted deeper and deeper into my gut. The first one, from yesterday at 9:47 a.m. Danny, it's urgent. I need to tell you something important before it's too late. Please call me back. This is a new number. Mom. I stared at it. Urgent, before it's too late. I had just been in a meeting, annoyed at my phone vibrating. Message 2, 11:23 a.m. Danny, please don't ignore this. I really need to talk to you. It's about your father, and about me. I don't have much time. My father? He'd been gone for years. What could she possibly mean? Message 3, 2:15 p.m. Honey, I know you're busy, but this is important. I'm at the hospital. They're running tests. I'm scared. At the hospital. Scared. And what was I doing? Having lunch with a client? Probably. Laughing. Message 4, 4:38 p.m. They found something with my heart. I need surgery. Danny, please call me. Please call me. The desperation in those 3 words was a physical blow. Message 5, 6:42 p.m. Going into surgery soon. I wanted to hear your voice first. I love you so much. She just wanted to hear my voice. One last time, maybe, and I denied her that. I was probably stuck in traffic, complaining about my day, completely oblivious. Message 6, 7:01 p.m. I wanted to tell you about your father. There's something you should know, something I should have told you years ago. Again, my father. A mystery wrapped inside this nightmare. What didn't I know? And then, the last one. Sent just 20 minutes before they took her away. Message 7, 7:19 p.m. If anything happens, know that you were the best thing in my life. I'm proud of you! Always have been! I love you, Danny! That was it. That was the one that broke me. Her final thoughts weren't of anger or disappointment in me. They were of love, of pride. A love I didn't deserve. A pride I hadn't earned. The weight of it all, the weight of those unread messages, of those unanswered calls, of all the missed moments. It was too much. I dropped the phone onto the blanket. I put my head down on the cold metal bedrail next to her unfeeling hand, and I sobbed. Not quiet, respectable tears, but ugly, gasping sobs that tore through my body, shaking me to my very core. I cried for my mother, lying so still and fragile. I cried for my own selfishness, my monumental failure as a son. And I cried because I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that even if she woke up, nothing would ever be the same again. I had let her down when she needed me most, and that was a truth I would have to carry for the rest of my life. I just prayed I'd get the chance to tell her I was sorry, one more time. I didn't leave that hospital room for 3 whole days. My first call was to my boss, a frantic, mumbled request for emergency family leave. He was surprisingly understanding, just said, "Take all the time you need, Daniel." And so I did. I made that stiff, uncomfortable visitor's chair my bed. I forced down food from the hospital cafeteria, each bite tasting like wet cardboard, but it was fuel. That's all it was. My entire world shrank to the 4 walls of that room, to the rhythmic beep of the machines, and the steady rise and fall of my mother's chest. She was breathing. That was everything. She'd drift in and out, her consciousness a fragile boat on a foggy sea. The doctors kept reassuring me. "This is normal," they'd say. "The sedation, the trauma of the surgery. Her body is putting all its energy into healing." Every time her eyelids fluttered open, my heart would leap. I'd lean forward, my breath held, hoping to see a spark of recognition, a sign that my mom was still in there. But her eyes would just be clouded with confusion, a vacant stare that didn't see me, before she'd surrender to sleep again. Those moments were the hardest, a fresh wave of despair washing over me each time she slipped away. With nothing else to do, I was left alone with my thoughts. And my thoughts were not kind. They were a relentless reel of memories, each one sharper and more painful than the last. I was suddenly 16 again, consumed by a furious, misplaced grief after Dad died. I remembered screaming at her, the words like venom. "You're not Dad! Stop trying to act like you can replace him!" The memory of her face, crumpling in silent pain as tears streamed down her cheeks, was a physical blow. She just stood there and took it. She absorbed my anger, my pain, and never once threw it back at me. How could I have been so cruel? How could I have thrown my own suffering at the one person who understood it better than anyone? Then came the college years. I'd won a full scholarship, something I was immensely proud of. But Mom, she insisted on working double shifts at the diner. "For spending money," she'd said, pressing crumpled bills into my hand every time I came home for a break. "So, you don't have to work during school. Just focus on your studies, Danny. Make us proud." And what did I do with that freedom she bought me with her exhaustion? I barely called. I got swept up in my new life, my new friends, my new sense of self-importance. I treated her calls like interruptions, her concern like an annoyance. The distance I put between us wasn't just miles. It was a chasm of my own making. I was building my future on the foundation of her sacrifice, and I didn't even have the decency to say thank you. The memory that stung the most was graduation. I can still see her, sitting in the stands, beaming. She was wearing her nicest dress, the only nice dress she owned, a simple floral print she saved for special occasions. Her pride was a tangible thing, a light that shone brighter than the stadium floodlights. After the ceremony, she excitedly introduced me to her co-workers from the diner, a group of kind, smiling women who had covered her shift so she could be there. And I was embarrassed. My face burned with shame. I, Daniel, the university graduate with the fancy degree, was embarrassed that my mother worked at a diner. Embarrassed by her simple clothes and her warm, unpretentious working-class friends. When did that happen? When did I become such a snob? When did my mother, the woman who gave me everything, become an inconvenience I had to manage? A footnote in the grand story I was writing for myself? The guilt was a physical weight, pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. All those years, she was my biggest cheerleader, and I was too busy looking ahead to even glance back and see her waving from the sidelines. I was living the life she'd dreamed for me, the one she'd worked her fingers to the bone to provide, and I had repaid her with distance and a casual, unforgivable neglect. Looking at her lying in that bed, so still and pale, I realized how much I had taken for granted. I had assumed she would always be there, always be a phone call away, always ready with a proud word and unconditional love. I'd acted like her love was an infinite resource I could draw from, without ever making a deposit. On the second day, a doctor named Patel came in for her evening rounds. She was a kind woman, probably in her 50s, with gentle eyes that held a comforting mix of professionalism and empathy. "How is she?" I asked, the same question I'd asked every single person in Scrubs who had walked through that door. My voice was hoarse. She checked the monitors, her fingers tapping on her tablet. "Stable," she said, and my heart unclenched just a fraction. "Her vitals are improving. The next 24 hours are critical, but I'm cautiously optimistic." She finished her notes and then looked at me. Really looked at me. "You know," she began, her voice soft, "she talked about you before the surgery. A lot. She wouldn't stop talking about you, actually." I just stared at her, confused. "She told us all about her brilliant son in San Francisco," Dr. Patel continued with a small smile. "Working for a big tech company, doing such important work." The words were like a punch to the gut. They weren't a comfort. They were an indictment. "She said that?" I managed to choke out. "Oh yes," Dr. Patel nodded. "Every nurse on this floor knows about Daniel, the cybersecurity expert. She was so proud." The doctor's smile faded as she saw the look on my face. She looked from me to my mother's still form, and then back again. "She also made us promise something," she said, her voice dropping lower. If she didn't make it through the surgery, we were supposed to give you a letter she wrote. It's with her personal effects." My throat closed up completely. I couldn't speak. A letter. The thought of her writing a final letter, of contemplating her own death, was unbearable. Dr. Patel seemed to read my mind. "I'm not really supposed to tell you this, but I think you should know. She knew something was wrong for a while. She wrote it 2 weeks ago. Just in case." Her expression softened with pity. Do you want to read it?" I could only nod, my eyes burning. I didn't trust my voice not to break. She left the room and returned 5 minutes later. In her hand was a simple, sealed white envelope. My name was written on the front in Mom's careful, familiar handwriting. It wasn't just my name. It said, "To my Danny, my greatest achievement." I took the envelope from her. It felt impossibly heavy. I waited until the doctor had quietly left the room, closing the door behind her. Alone again with the beeping machines and my sleeping mother, I looked at the envelope. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely tear the seal. Every part of me screamed not to open it, not to read the words she wrote when she thought she might die. But a bigger part of me knew I had to. I had to know what she needed to say. "My dearest Danny, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner about the chest pains, the shortness of breath, the fear I've been carrying around like a stone in my pocket. But you were so busy, so successful, so far away in your important new life. I didn't want to be a burden. That's a lie. The truth is, I was scared. Not of dying. I'm ready for that. Whenever God decides it's my time. I was scared of seeing disappointment in your eyes. Scared that if I pulled you away from your work, from your life, you'd resent me even more than you already do. You don't think I notice, but I do. I notice how our phone calls have gotten shorter. How you're always busy when I suggest visiting. How you flinch when I tell people you're my son, like you're embarrassed of where you came from. Of me. I don't blame you, sweetheart. You worked so hard to escape Millbrook, to build something better. Why would you want to be dragged back down by reminders of poverty, of struggle, of a mother who never amounted to much? But Danny, I need you to know something. I need you to understand this before I go. I was never ashamed of what I did for you. The double shifts at the diner, the overtime hours, eating 1 meal a day so you could have 3, wearing the same coat for 10 winters so you could have new school clothes. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat, because you were my miracle. After your father died, everyone said I should give up, move back in with my sister, maybe even, well, some suggested I couldn't raise you alone. But I looked at your face, so much like your father's, and I knew I'd move mountains for you. And I did. I moved mountains. And you became everything I dreamed you'd be. But somewhere along the way, I think you forgot something important. You forgot that the mountains I moved weren't obstacles. They were love. Every sacrifice was a choice. Every hardship was an honor. You don't owe me anything, Danny. You never did. Being your mother was never a debt you had to repay. It was a gift I was privileged to receive. But if I could ask one thing, just one thing before I go, it would be this. Don't let success make you lonely. Don't let ambition make you cruel. Don't let pride make you forget that love is always, always worth coming home for. Call people back. Show up. Be present. Because at the end of everything, the only thing that matters is the people who loved you and the people you loved in return. I loved you from the moment I knew you existed. I loved you through every hard moment, every triumph, every disappointment, every joy. I love you now, wherever I am. I'll love you forever. Oh, and one more thing. That thing about your father I mentioned in my texts. I found something recently, going through old boxes. Letters he wrote to you before you were born. Dozens of them. He wrote one every week during my pregnancy, talking about his dreams for you, his hopes, his plans. They're in my closet, top shelf, in a blue shoebox. Read them when you're ready. And know that you come from love. So much love. You were enough, Danny. You always were. You always will be. All my love. Forever and ever, Mom. The letter fell from my hands as I doubled over, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. A nurse rushed in, probably alarmed by the sounds I was making. These horrible animalistic sounds of grief and regret that I couldn't control. "I'm okay," I managed to gasp. "I'm okay, I just need..." But I wasn't okay. I wasn't anywhere close to okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for the conclusion of this story. If you're new here, I recommend watching the previous parts to get the full picture. The morning of the fourth day arrived, gray and silent, like the ones before. I was slumped in that uncomfortable hospital chair, muscles aching, when a sound cut through my exhausted haze. It was weak, raspy, but it was the voice I'd been desperate to hear. "Danny!" My eyes shot open. She was looking at me, not through me, but at me. Her eyes were clear. "Mom!" I jumped up, grabbing her hand. It felt so fragile. "You're awake. You're really awake." "How long?" she whispered. 4 days, my voice cracked. "You had surgery, your heart. You almost died, Mom." She squeezed my hand, a faint but firm pressure. "But I didn't," she said. "I'm still here." And then everything came pouring out. "I'm so sorry. I blocked your messages. I thought they were scams. I didn't know you were sick. I should have called. I should have visited. I should have..." She lifted her other hand and gently touched my face. "Shh. You're here now. That's what matters." "No, it's not enough," I insisted, the shame burning in my throat. "Mom, I read your letter. The one you wrote in case..." I couldn't finish the sentence. "I've been such a terrible son." She gave me that gentle smile, the one that had been the backdrop of my entire life. "You've been a successful son, a busy son, a son who was living his life. But I forgot about you. I forgot what was important." "Danny," she said, her voice soft but sure. "You didn't forget me. You just got lost for a little while, but you found your way back. You're here." We sat in silence, just her hand in mine, the rhythmic beeping of the machines a strange, new lullaby. Finally, I broke the quiet. "The letters," I said. "The ones Dad wrote. Can I..." "Of course," she promised. "When we get home." She paused, her gaze hopeful. "Will you take me home, Danny, when they release me?" "Yes," I said, the decision already made in my heart. "And I'm staying. I already talked to my boss. I'm taking a leave of absence. I'll stay as long as you need me." "You don't have to..." "I want to," I cut in. "No, I need to. Please, Mom. Let me take care of you for once." Tears welled in her eyes and slipped down her cheeks. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, sweetheart." That was 6 months ago. I'm telling you this story from Mom's kitchen table here in Portland. She's in the living room right now, doing her cardiac rehab exercises while her favorite game show blares on the TV. Her recovery has been slow, but it's been steady. The doctors say she's going to make a full recovery. I never went back to San Francisco. I took that leave of absence, and then I quit. I found a job with a cybersecurity firm here in Portland. It's less prestigious, the salary is lower, but I can walk to Mom's apartment in 15 minutes. We have dinner together 3 times a week. I call her every single day. Sometimes it's just to say hi. Sometimes it's to tell her about my day. And sometimes it's just to hear her voice. I read all of Dad's letters, all 73 of them. He wrote about wanting to teach me how to ride a bike, how to throw a baseball, how to be a good man. He wrote about his fears, that he wouldn't be a good enough father, that he'd mess me up somehow, that I wouldn't grow up knowing how much I was truly loved. Mom and I cried together over those letters, and then we laughed. We laughed remembering him, really remembering him. Not just the sadness of losing him, but the pure joy of having had him in our lives at all. I've learned something profound these past 6 months. Success isn't measured by job titles, or salary figures, or how high you can climb some corporate ladder. It's measured in moments. It's measured in phone calls you actually return, in hands you hold when someone needs you. It's measured in showing up when it truly matters. That message I blocked wasn't just a text. It was a wake-up call. A blaring alarm I almost slept through, but I didn't. I got a second chance, and I know not everyone does. I am not going to waste a single second of it. Danny, Mom just called from the living room. Come watch this with me! The contestant is so close to winning! Coming, Mom, I call back, closing my laptop. I've learned that the most important messages in life aren't always flagged as urgent. They're not dramatic or flashy. They're quiet, they're ordinary, and they're so easy to miss if you're not paying attention. Simple things like, I love you. Come home. I'm here. These days, I never miss a message, and I never ever hit block, because the people who love us won't be here forever. But the love we give them, and the love we let ourselves receive from them, that echoes into eternity. I was so busy blocking out the noise of the world that I almost blocked out the one voice that mattered most. I won't make that mistake again. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Take care, and remember to check in on the people you love.